So good morning, my name is Teresa Shaver. I'm the Executive Director of the Business Advisor Center Durham, and I'm very happy to welcome everybody here today. Who's new today? Can we have a show of hands? So welcome to a really fun journey coming out to these events. Frank and I started talking about putting these together in 2016, and it was about entrepreneurs and business owners always struggle with business development and making sales and finding customers. And could we bring people out that could teach you or share their knowledge on the journeys that they've had? And so that's how this came about. We wanted you to feel inspired and kind of motivated and know that you're not alone by yourself, because it is one of the biggest challenges that most businesses have, is to create a consistent sales funnel, right? So that's how these were born, and it's been a fun ride. We've had, like, I don't know how many, 24 different speakers up to this point. I'd like to just thank our sponsors. We have One Community One who does our videoing for us. I hope you guys can And also I'd like to thank Jay Gilgannon from RBC Dominion Securities for sponsoring our breakfast. Thank you, Jay. And I'd like to invite Daniel from the town of Whitby. They sponsor our space every month. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be hosting this event. I just wanted to make a reference to Take Your Business Online by Staples. That's Simon Rodriguez, actually a Whitby resident, works for Staples Canada. So, yeah, Senior Vice President. Very common in Durham region. Highly influential people working for multinational companies. So we really happy to have him as a speaker and to share his knowledge. But we will also be continuing this program in September, so we're happy to continue to host the event. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'd like to invite Frank. Frank is the spearhead of putting together all the speakers on the roster that we have. So Frank, if I can have you come and introduce our speaker, please, and thank you.
The air conditioning is back on. I had my Italian handkerchief ready to go. So listen, welcome back. Thank you again for being with us here today. Believe it or not, this is our 24th, 6th of the year. We are going to take a little break in July and August, and we'll be back in September. I also wanted to welcome some of the past speakers. This event would not be possible, obviously, if we don't have you guys attending. So there's obviously a demand and an appetite for it. But also, we have in the back room my good friend Kevin from Socialite. Kevin was one of our speakers. And he's almost here this time. So before I get to our speaker today, it's a little bit special for me today. I actually have my dear wife in the audience. So happy to have my wife here today. Also, if you remember the last time we spoke, we promised you some cannabis. Not today, but our speaker September 18 is the president and chief operating officer of the Clinic Network, which are pain management clinics, and there's 12 of them. And Wayne is here today. Wayne is going to be our speaker September 18, okay? So we've got an amazing lineup, but today the focus is on our good friend Mark and Carissa. Homegrown, Mark is from Pickering. Oh, the other way. Yep. Pickering, and Carissa, the co-founders from Whitby, and they live in Bowmanville. So my good friend Patrick Leiber, wherever the heck he is back there, said, hey, you gotta check out this company. It's called wonderMakr, and they take the digital, connect it with the physical. I had no idea what he was talking about. So I did meet with them at their office last week, and you're in really for an amazing treat, okay? So again, homegrown. I'm gonna just read you what we promised you today. For sales growth, innovation is inevitable. In sales, innovation is inevitable and necessary to stay competitive and connected to developing markets and being relevant. With the facing challenges of incorporating innovation into sales and growth, there is a requirement to shift some fundamentals in how we operate as individuals and as organizations. Through the lens of Mark Stewart, serial entrepreneur, curious nerd, and one of the BizBash's 2018 most innovative people in the event space, which is quite an accomplishment. He will share some tried and tested methods to bring in a more innovative approach to your brand and sales initiatives. Mark Stewart has an extensive background in creative technology, digital strategy, event marketing, fabrication, and built-in future-forward interactive brand experiences. Over the past 15 years, Mark has worked with clients in identifying and develop innovative campaigns, products, and platforms, and wait till you hear the kind of clients they have. Currently, Mark is the President and Chief Innovation Officer at wonderMakr, a creative technology studio that engineers and develops innovative digital plus physical experiences and products for brand, agencies, and humans. He'll share his story about creating magic and ensuring that memorable experiences remain a critical part of our brand building and sales strategies. Mark has recently been named, as I mentioned, one of BizBash's 25 most innovative people in events. He's humbled, funny as hell, damn proud to have collaborated with awesome brands like Air Canada, IKEA, Disney, Dyson, Mattel, Benefit Cosmetics, Canadian Tire, General Motors, Nike, Nissan, Twitter, and so many more. You will be given tools, strategies, ideas that you can apply to your business so you can apply them right away when you get back to your office and make a difference in growing your business. Please help me welcome Mark all the way from Bowmanville.
Wow, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? In reality, just a terrified copywriter who found himself running a giant technology company. So it's an absolute pleasure to be in this room specifically. Really quick story. In 1999, Carissa, who runs this business alongside me 100%, we actually got married in this building in 1999 in August. I talk about innovation. We were the first people to ask to use the theater to get married. They kind of looked at us, eyes sideways, going, "You want to get in the theater?" That's how we met. We actually met first year out of high school, doing improv. We met at, oh God, I'm going to get yelled at here. It's at the high school in Oshawa. My goodness. East, yeah, there you go. So we met doing improv. So that's my background. I started my career wanting to go to theater school. And then I determined that I wouldn't want to go do the interpretive dance side of things. I didn't think that much more than anything apart from making quick one-liners. So I went to school for radio and television broadcasting. I went to Centennial. I love the hands-on approach. I looked at Ryerson, I looked at a whole bunch of other schools, but I love hands-on learning. I love building, I love inventing, I love creating, I love tearing things apart, breaking things, see what I did wrong. And that's the career path that I decided to go. I started my career in radio, so I got a job at KX96. So if you talk about somebody who knows Durham, this guy. I have driven 24 hours a day, 7 days, Caesarea, setting up the boom box, going to car dealerships, talking with people. And if you look at what I'm doing now, it's very similar to what I did the first day I joined the radio station. I was at a car dealership, I was cooking hot dogs and hamburgers, people were coming up wanting to meet the DJs. The smiles on their faces, it was so encouraging. They drove, literally, somebody would drive from Ajax to Oshawa to a car dealership where they would not intend to buy a car, they just wanted a hot dog and talk to the DJ. That was my first foray into experiential, quote-unquote, marketing. So Carissa, at the time, was working at DDB Advertising. I was working on a radio salary. We wanted to get a house, have some kids. You don't do that in radio. Making $19,000 a year, it ain't gonna happen. So Carissa got me an interview with a marketing agency. They did experiential marketing, sports marketing. I came in as a copywriter. So I started writing copy, mostly like things you get into mail, direct mail, billboards, all that kind of stuff. And from there, I got a little bit bored with what I was doing. I was used to writing 20, 30 radio commercials a day. And then once I was in that, I decided I got a little bit bored. So I moved into studio management. I worked with the art directors, the print producers, I go on press checks. I figured out how a studio ran. That's everything from billing, trafficking, scheduling. I learned so much because I love to expand my skill set. I love doing things I haven't done before. In this agency, I then started the digital team. I'm already doing freelance copywriting for websites. I'm going to bring in a developer because I know how to do site architecture, I know how to do user experience, user interfaces. I'll get somebody to program it. So I started that up. And that was early days of bringing digital in-house at an agency. From there, again, I got bored. Did something else, I started the video production. So everywhere is a content studio nowadays. Every agency I know, it's all about the content, it's all about that. This was 10 years ago. we're going to bring video in. So we brought video in. Because of my radio and television background, I was able to do some editing. We did some stuff with Loblaws and Real Canadian Superstore with an anthem search. I did all the editing for that because why not? What happened about 5 years ago is I was sitting at a boardroom table with Mattel, and they were doing their planning for the auto show. Their auto show program was a little bit stale. They were walking around handing Hot Wheels cards out, brand ambassadors, hip sacks. Hey, post to social, if we give you the car, okay, I'll do that. And I went and said, I have young kids. What they love to do is they love to play with machines. They love to hit buttons. They've got their busy boards. They're doing all kinds of things. Why don't we do a vending machine? It's just got one big button on it, and it will dispense a Hot Wheels car if you press it. Free vending machine. Everyone knows the user experience. They understand the machine. No problem. They're like, that's great. At the time, we were running their social account. So the @HotWheels account, we were running for them. And I said, you know what? For the parents, we could probably hook that vending machine up to Twitter. We kind of get one like this. What do you mean? Well, you send a tweet. The vending machine will pick that up. We'll have an internet connection. It'll dispense out. They're like, huh, all right. We'll think about it. They came back after Christmas. So January 4th, they said, the auto show is in 6 weeks. We love that idea for the Twitter vending machine. Go ahead. And I went, shit. I know the technology, I know what's possible. My developer can't do it. He doesn't do soldering, he doesn't do electronics, he doesn't do anything. Thankfully, my social media manager at the time, her boyfriend worked in systems control automation. So he was an engineer. He worked with PCLs, he worked with all kinds of systems. I said, Garrett, can you figure this out? So he took a couple of days, like every engineer will, because they need to think way too fucking much. And he came back and said, yes, we can do it. So we got it set up, we did it, and about 2 weeks into our build, we found a company in South Africa that actually built the first Twitter vending machine in the world 2 weeks before. This is the pivot in my career. My career pivoted when Garrett said to me, I reached out to the people who did that vending machine. They referred me to an agency in the UK, to a developer in Spain, to another developer in Argentina. And I talked to all of them. I found out what they did right, what they did wrong. They gave me some advice. We're going to do it a different way. And that opened my eyes to the world of makers. So those are people that are inventing and doing things just for fun. And the world of open source, the world of makers that want to share what they've done to inspire others to do better. It's kind of like an art community for engineers and developers, where they love to see people do really cool things. So that's my background. So I'm from the area. I started a company. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm also like you. I'm figuring this out as I go along. But we've done some really fun things. What I want to talk to you today about, and this to me is inherent to the sales process, is the process of innovation. How to think differently. Doing things the way you always do them is easy. It's the easiest thing you can do. The hardest thing to do is challenge how you think. So I'm going to go through a little bit of that with you. We'll also talk about creative tech and selling crazy ideas, because that's what I do. On a daily basis, this is my brain when I'm sitting in front of clients or sitting in front of staff. One half of my brain is spot, logical, data, where's the results, ROI, every piece of information that's required I have to deliver on. We don't build things just for the sake of building them, we build them for results. Then I got the other side that I really love. This is crazy invention. How can I connect things for manufacturers, whether it's hardware and software, that aren't necessarily meant to go together? How can I void the warranty? And that's what we love to do. So here are the things that we sell. There's a lot of videos in this. This talk usually goes 3, 4, 5 hours, so I'm going to skip some of the videos. You can see some of the stuff on our website, but I wanted to show you a couple of the things we do because they're good examples of how we think. What I call it maketing. There are a lot of boxed solutions in marketing and advertising. We stay away generally from things like photo booths and spin wheels and tents and handouts and samples and all that. We're looking at things that stop people. And it's really hard to push people away from packaged, just put your information in here and it'll sell to people. We think differently. And like I said, I'm really inspired by the maker movement. One of the saddest things that happened about a month or so ago is Maker Media, who runs Maker Fair and runs Make Magazine. This was an organization that was dedicated to those folks Men and women in their basements, their garages, building, experimenting, and tinkering. The movement will not die. It was a media company, they come and go. The movement will last. And the fundamentals of this movement, the first point to me is so important. I know it sounds really, really weird, but you're all probably looking at a device right now that in about 2 years you're going to throw out. Why are you going to throw that device out? Because you can't service it. You can't do anything with it. You can't fix it. That is a huge problem in the world. And if you can start by trying to take things apart and fixing them, it brings you back to why we are human. We are human because we are tool makers. We are meant to make and create. It doesn't mean it's always physical. There's creative, I make things with words, but making makes us human. If you're not making something, you're not doing it right. The second point is doing it together. We collaborate with so many different people, hardware, software, other vendors. We like to get inspired. We play, we participate, we support, we share our code, we do everything we can. And what that does is that builds trust. When you've got trust, you've got sales, because people believe in you and they know you're not just in it for yourself. You have to give back. And that's point 4, share your success. If you do something right, share it. If you do something wrong, share that, because that will be helpful. This is a really quick one, I'll just kind of let it go as it goes in the background. We had an idea to join the Global Space Balloon Challenge. So this is a volunteer thing where you throw high altitude balloons up in the air, run experiments. There's about 70 teams that participate globally. And of course, what a mighty beer I had then. What's going on? Our idea was to send a payload box up that would actually project a movie onto a screen and then record that projection in near space. It makes no sense at all. None. But we wanted to see if it was possible. And what we were able to achieve, and this is all, there's no post in this is projection, so we just put some silly clips together of sci-fi movies, and we fired this box up. We launched this in Goderich. We recovered it. It was about a 3-hour flight. We learned so much. You can check this out on our website, but it's nuts. Really, really fun. We got to about 101,000 feet, which was a lot of fun. What we did learn is we learned a hell of a lot about high-altitude balloons. We also formed a great relationship with Transport Canada, NAV Canada, Pearson Airport, Goderich Airport, because we did everything by the book. We had our flight plan. We figured out where this was going to go. Thank goodness for the University of Chicago and their modeling systems. But we learned a lot, and we were about 200 meters or so off where we thought we would land. We landed in the middle of Farmers Field, north of London. We had to walk onto private property to this husband and wife and a little baby who were living off grid. They used to live in Guelph, and there was no power. And we just talked with them. There were turkeys running around. She had no shoes on. Like, there's rocks. But they were fantastic. They're like, yeah, there's some orange thing in the field we saw. So we went, it was amazing. Again, we met people we never would have met because we tried. What that did is that gave us something to put into our toolbox. This is a toolbox of ideas, technologies, and things that we can sell. I'm going to show you an example of why that makes sense. So what we do a whole bunch of different things. All of these, for the companies we work with, they're coming up to us because they're trying to sell themselves. They're either trying to sell the brand, make it more awareness, get people to sign up for things. There's always a transaction that's involved. But what we do is we create experiences that are great fodder for social and content, something shareable and something to stop people. That high altitude balloon project led to this project a year later. With Duracell, we flew a drone across Canada in partnership with McLean's, and we live streamed this journey. It was 11,000 kilometers. We had a camera on top of the drone that was powered by Duracell, live streaming to an RV, which then used the Rogers box to live stream out to YouTube. It was insane. I would never do this again. It was madness. But we built that relationship with Transport Canada, and if we hadn't tried that thing just for fun, Duracell wouldn't have trusted in us to do this.
The making of the Explorer 150, powered by Duracell. Trust is power.
With the Explorer 150 program, Duracell is putting their trust front and forward. They're going to be really pushing the boundaries of drone technology and what they can do by going across the country. So they're really pushing innovation and being a leader in the space.
First and foremost, we wanted to really celebrate Canada's 150th birthday. And to do that, I think we wanted to make sure that Canadians have access to the beautiful landscapes that we have and the great stories that make up Canada. You know, we engaged a lot of people to really bring this to life. There was, I think, over 50 people that were involved. And what we wanted to do is bring this beautiful country to as many Canadians as possible.
This is the flight of a lifetime, really. There's 4 professional UAV operators. That's unmanned aerial vehicles. And they have years, hundreds of hours of flight experience, thousands of hours. To them, it's something like they've never been able to dream to do. So they're very, very excited to see the Canada they haven't seen that everybody else will. Welcome to the Duracell Explorer 150 Flight Center. So we're getting ready for the trip, getting ready for the journey. So we've got some stuff going by ground to Whitehorse in Yukon. So those are going to be leaving really, really shortly. We have our 3D printer going too. We're doing some final prep for the enclosures. So we've got 2 of the 5 drones, 2 of the 5 Explorer 150 drones by Duracell. So we've got one here that has some final modifications to be done, and then this one we do have the modification that includes the Duracell live stream power there.
Canada is a beautiful nation and people need to get out there and they need to explore, they need to live, they need to see some of the beauty that Canada has to offer.
At Duracell, we believe that trust is power, and what better way to showcase trust and power than through flying a drone across Canada.
The making of the Explorer 150, powered by Duracell. Trust is power.
So, what I say to our clients all the time, try and do it. Nothing wrong with it. Keep doing it, it works. You set up a giant Hot Wheels display at the Art Gallery of Ontario at March break with kids, it's going to be a success. They can play with cars and tracks, it's chaos. But what we did is we said, how can we make this better for the brand, for parents and others across the country? That's a very singular event in Toronto, the center of the universe, as we know in Canada. But how can we go beyond that? So we wanted to involve the rest of their fans, own their own media. So the media that you own, you can do anything with. So on the Hot Wheels site, we set up live stream cameras. We also connected a couple of their traditional devices, just hacked them a little bit and took control of the motors. You could go on and you could launch a car from anywhere in Canada from hotwheels.ca. You could switch the lanes from anywhere in hotwheels.ca. So there you go. Now you've involved the rest of Canada where they can mess with this track too. As we were putting this track together, we're on our hands and knees. I looked up at the light and I turned to Garrett, who's still with us, still working with us. He can still keep his engineer brain going. I turned to him and I said, listen, that porch light, do you have a battery pack, an Arduino, a Raspberry Pi? And of course he looks at me and he's like, yeah, I have it all in my backpack. I said, could you hook that light up so whenever a parent sends a tweet about being at this event, the light will turn on and off? And within 2 hours we had that hooked up, we had a little sign printed out, and that was used over 3,000 times in a week. That's all it is, a quick idea, how to engage, how can I engage with the space, how can I do something that's a little bit different than what I always do. So that's it, extend that experience anytime you can. For Dyson, we did some crazy things. We turned a vacuum into a selfie stick, so that's a selfie stick vac. They also, and this is just thinking differently about how they do things, Dyson usually whenever they went to home shows, they'd have their vacuums on display, they'd have brand ambassadors with little hip sacks here, and as they go, would you like to try a vacuum? And they'd kind of take some stuff, put it on the floor, and you'd go, oh, that's neat. We went, okay, you can do that. Or we can take cereal dispensers, we can modify them, we can stick them behind a wall, we can have a little chute that as people walk out, they step on a pressure pad and beads come out of their feet. And the client kind of looked at us like, what? So just trust us, we worked with their fabricator who built the mock home, and we could not get people out of this room. There were 4 areas you could walk into. You'd step, bees would come out, people would go, they'd go like this, they'd vacuum it up, they'd step back, and they'd The other thing we did in terms of the data and the information, they said our goal with this event is 25,000 trigger pulls. So in their mind, you would come in, you would try the vacuum, the brand ambassador, the staff would go, okay, there's one. We said, give us a vacuum for a day. So So we took apart the vacuum. The Dyson vacuum is engineered brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. We were able to put a little RF transmitter into that vacuum on the trigger, so every time somebody actually pulled the trigger, we had a little computer in the back that was recording all of it. So at the end of the event, they had close to 200,000 trigger pulls. So now they had a way to track this that was real, 100%. Every time somebody pulled the trigger, we said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they exceeded it. So now they had real information. This is the machine that started it all, the Hot Wheels Twitter-activated vending machine. Lots of fun, still in our office. We do all kinds of experiential vending machines. What we love about vending machines is humans inherently understand them. It's a give and a get. There's a machine, there's a company, there's stuff in that thing, I'm going to get that stuff. That's a simple starting point. But what we do is we're able to do things like hook treadmills up to them, we can turn them into video booths, we can play games with them. Everything that you do, think of your phone, there's a multitude of things that you can do with it. We look at vending machines like that. People inherently understand that give and get. So I'm going to tell you something about my company, I'm going to ask you to buy something, I'm going to get you to sign up. As part of that, we're going to give you a reward. It's going to be of various degrees of work, but we're going to make it worth your time instead of just handing you something. And it's really quick and simple. I'll go through this one quick. That was Love Lights. That was an installation at Sherway Gardens, 484 kinetic lights. A little bit crazy, lots of fun. This is something that we did for TELUS last summer at a bunch of music festivals. This is a custom light installation. I'll just kind of let this go as it goes through. But we built a map of Canada, a replica, some wireless LED bulbs. The agency brief to us was, we want light up balloons. And we said, okay, here's a bunch of ways you can do it. We landed on this. They look like the little candy, the cake pops that you get. But inside each of those, we had an LED light. We would light it up. We had a whole bunch of series of animations. It was all about the TELUS network in Canada. So it wasn't overt in your face sales, like buy something, get something. It was, you know what, this is a music festival. This is an art installation. But there's a little bit of information that's there. So you can learn a little bit about the network, but ultimately you can just take control of the lights. Very Instagrammable, very shareable. We've done cruise karaoke, so jump into the car, we record you, project onto the windscreen, it's a little bit nuts. McDonald's last summer, we did Fry Stream, 1 million people watched this on Facebook. It was a mock drive-through and a speaker, and you could upload a video to Instagram or Facebook and shout your love of French fries for National French Fry Day. And we would take that speaker, your video would appear there, I'll kind of let it go through, but it was a little bit strange, a little bit weird, and that's why we got the call. So we built this little drive-through speaker box, did some modeling. Anyway, I want to be really cognizant of time, so we'll skip past this one too. A little bit nuts. This is one of our signature projects. So this was the Canadian Tire Red Door, which you might have seen. We first did this for the Rio Olympics. This is real-time live streaming from Rio to Toronto. We did it for Pyeongchang as well, which was really cool. But it was a way to connect athletes back to their family. And this one I will let play through because it's really special.
Okay, Rosie, this is Canadian Tire's Red Door from Rio. When you open it, you'll be able to talk to big Olympic fans on the other side.
Hi, Rosie.
I was actually just saying that I had to call you.
Congratulations, you did a super job.
Oh man, I'm so excited. This is amazing.
I was at church this morning and everybody was saying how wonderful you were. And when I got home, there were 18 messages all about you.
That's amazing.
I'm not used to this sort of thing, Rosie. I don't like being a celebrity. You keep on having fun. I hope you really enjoy the rest of your time down there.
I will for sure. I love you so much.
Love you, bye.
All the feels with that one. That was great. So a few million views of that. So we power the technology, the idea, getting it down there. Canadian Tire's content team, they're the ones who identify the stories, they film the content. So it's very collaborative. So we're fueling that technology to tell that story. Another really quick one here, I'll just kind of talk over.
Now everybody say,
This is Shaw
you feeling me?
and a new twist on VR.
Scan your boarding pass.
Arrive at your destination faster.
It's just black. Oh my gosh. Here.
Will my muscular legs?
These are the real Sarah.
I was actually doing this. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Oh, I need it.
Fist bump. Oh my goodness.
God, a lot of stuff that we did make no sense, really. The ask from the agency there was we want to invent VR headsets. I love when emails come through like that. One thing you should never do is post a photo of your boarding pass online. Don't ever go on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, take a photo and say, I'm off to Maui, because I can take that, I can decode it, and I can change your flight back from Maui. So don't do that. Within that QR code, that little QR code or barcode, is your confirmation number. So that multi-letter thing that you think nobody can guess, it's right there. And your first name, and your last name, and your destination. So we didn't actually have to get into any airline information. We just read the codes that were on things, said, oh, this person's going to Calgary, then the VR headset with Calgary already playing. So there you go. This is an interesting one too. I will show this one. This one's a neat use of technology that we really did put together. Simple use of tech, simple use of open source. Thankfully, we know vending really, really well, so we're able to take a vending machine from here, stick it up this way, vend out the right cookie based on a call to the API, and tells the right story. Makes sense for the brand, great use of tech, out of home. They are real people, but after they have the first interaction, the film crew comes up and goes, yes, sign these waivers, do this. And this B-roll shot of you holding this, that's perfect. It's all perfectly natural, but they do start out as regular, ordinary people. I'll let this one go through, but we did this a couple of months ago for Manulife Ride for Heart. Interesting clock wall. So the idea was that every 5 minutes in Canada somebody dies from heart disease or stroke. So we took these clocks, moved the second hand to the minute hand, and then every 5 seconds, quote unquote minutes, the word would change on the front. So it's every 5 minutes somebody loses a loved one, so it would say dad, sister, mom, uncle. Where this came from, and if you've ever seen it online, there's another installation that an art collective did, which was a series of clocks and hands where the hands would create words. So the agency came to us and said, we want to redo that. The first thing I said is no, because that's a brilliant idea from a bunch of artists that took 3 years to do that. There's no way in hell, first of all, you're doing this in 2 months. And second of all, that I'm going to rip somebody off. So, why don't we take art and evolve it? So instead of the hands being the ones that are drawing things, we're going to put LED lights and use them as pencils. Does that sound like a fair compromise? And they said yes. So we sold that through. So sales is not always about being the person with the original idea, it's selling the right idea through. Because I have to respect when somebody spends 3 years doing something with a new technique. There's no way in hell I'm going to rip that off just so a company can use it for themselves. So there's a little bit of integrity there too. Talking about integrity and Nike, why not? This is something we did for the Chicago store, really fun game. Think of those water games you used to use where the hoops would go up. That inspired us to go to them to say, as part of Nike Air Max Day, why don't we get people to jump on some pressure pads? We got fans underneath, all the balls will move through, they'll kind of come out or not come out, different prizes. A little bit silly, a little bit fun. We also built things that are kind of sciencey. This is a Bernoulli tube we did for Nike. They were looking for things that involved air. We proposed this, put it together, and it actually worked really well. We might start doing things with the Science Center. We've also built full RFID systems. Let's get to the meat of this presentation. We've done things with conferences like this where you walk through the door and we have a personalized greeting. It just uses a little UHF tag, nothing too crazy. But yeah, it's all over. We've also done some experimentation with computer vision. Anybody that watches Silicon Valley will know hot dog, not hot dog. And then this little prototype is for an escape room. It doesn't look like it, but that's PLC controlled. If you've been to an escape room, there's a lot of manual resetting. We're concepting something that uses PCL, so as you move through the space, it gets harder or easier depending on your time and what other people are doing, so a smart escape room. And last but not least, the Hendrix Cucumber Oreo. This is for Hendrix Gin. So this was 2 days at the Eaton Center. It's actually the first time they had alcohol sampling at the Eaton Center, which is either a very good or a very bad idea. So this is a capacitive touch cucumber organ. Those cucumbers aren't getting pressed down as much as we're measuring the electrical resistance of the cucumber and then firing the appropriate note. This is a professional organist. They had to spend about a day getting their finger spacing a little bit differently. We also did something because they were playing for 2 days. It's going to start to get soft. We built what we call the hot swap cucumber system. So on the back of those cucumbers, there's a screw. It's really simple. It's high-tech stuff. There's a screw that comes out. We've got our lead that's attached to that where we can know if you're pressing it or not. And if it gets soft, we just pop the cucumber off and stick another one on. So there's always innovation whenever you're looking for it. So I had to sell all of those things. Granted, some were easier because we do work alongside agencies that have crazy ideas and we're the ones that bring it to life. But other times we have to be a part of the selling table to go, no, we need to do it like this. This will have much more impact. So they can sell a piano powered by cucumbers. You can sell anything. So why all these things were able to be sold? I think if I think back about my career, and first of all, the difficulties, copywriters were very weird people. We have confidence but no confidence. And I'm like that every day in business. I can sit, I've done talks in front of 1,000 people and I'm not scared at all. I get in the room with one person, I can be terrified because ultimately whenever we're working with brands, giant companies, they know their product and they know their customers so much better than I do. So I'm making it up the second I sit down because they know, they have a vast history that I do not have. I don't know Hendrix's sales for Q3 in 1970. They weren't around then. But you know what I mean? Like there's a history that we don't get. So we just have to go with our gut. And what we do with our gut is fuel it with innovation. And this to me is one of the most important things for sales. And you'll see as we go along how these points will make sense. This is the big thing, and it doesn't happen a lot for us. Every time somebody asks for something, the why has to be there. So for our thing is, well, why are you doing a cucumber order? Why are you flying a drone across Canada? What is the point? What are you trying to achieve there? You have to answer the why before you can get to the how or what or any other thing. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to buy this house? If you're selling houses, why? I always tell this story, and it's an interesting one where if you're looking for the right solution, it's always about where you might be. So if I'm looking for a great new car for my family, I've got a new kid, and I walk into a Ford dealership, and I say, I've got 2 kids, I now have 3 kids, I got a third on the way. I work here, I commute here, like, here's all the variables of my life. Please tell me, what is the right car for me? What brand of car is that car going to be? It's going to be a Ford. Because they're not thinking outside of what they're selling. And I know it sounds very weird. I turn business away at wonderMakr, and the worst thing you can do whenever you're trying to inspire sales is to tell people to turn things away. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to do the right thing for our customer. If I don't think it's right, or if I can't do it perfectly, I'm going to tell them how to do it perfectly because they will come back. And they have come back. I don't want to build a photo booth for you because this company does 10,000 of them a year and they work perfectly. Go here. I could do it. It's going to cost you twice as much. And you might not know about this company and how cheap they are. At the end of the day, I get a thank you very much. And they come back again because I'm doing the right thing for the sale. Thank you. I hate turning it down, don't get me wrong. It annoys me. So my passion for what I'm doing right now is inspired by this dapper gentleman. This is James Burke. He had one of the greatest series ever put on television called Connections. Does anybody remember this show? Bless you. So this is a BBC series and it was all about how we got to where we are. It talks about inventions, products, technologies, and how they all connect. Because everything we do is connected. There's a great modern version of this if you don't like those types of suits. This is Stephen Johnson. He's got a fantastic book, How We Got to Now. So the 6 innovations that made the modern world. And it's a fascinating journey because much like that art piece, everything is built on something else. You don't get to the moon by looking at it one day and then building a Titan class rocket or an Apollo class rocket and go, you're not Saturn class, but anyways, let's not get into that. You have to build on the shoulders of other people. Okay, and we know that with the technologies and the things that we're doing. Cucumber Power is only inspired by that first person who took 2 bananas, put 2 leads beside them and said, oh my God, I can play bananas. That is where we started. But he tells a fascinating story. And I usually tell this at conferences. At conferences, usually you're going for cocktails and you're having some drinks and getting to know your fellow attendees. This is a classic wine press. I mean, there's a great technology that made making wine easier. You don't have to stomp anymore. You just press it down. Here comes the juice. Let it sit for a bit. Put some sugar in it, some yeast. There you go. You're all set. You're drunk. Inspired by that piece of technology to make wine, this handsome fella, Gutenberg, made the printing press. Same basic technology. We've got a screw. We've got pressure. We put ink down on paper. This changed the world. A lot, we can agree, when you can disseminate information really, really quickly into multiple people. One of the main things they used to do with the printing is do Bibles. The thing was, the print was so small because there was only so much paper they had, ink they had to make the type really, really small. That's just the way they did it. That required people, as they got older, this young fella here needs some glasses. That glass obviously made telescopes and it made microscopes. Now we can see the bigger world. We can see the smaller world. One day, somebody was playing with this glass and said, I'm going to heat up some glass, I'm going to tie it to an arrow and a crossbow, and I'm going to fire it across the room. I think I can stretch this pretty far. Why not? That person invented fiberglass. From fiberglass, we go to fiber optics, which is not much of an extension there. All iterative, little tiny steps. This is evolution. From that glass, we get our safety glasses in the front of every single one of our phones, and using those phones, we're at a conference, drinking wine, back to the wine press, and you're posting it to social. So it all connects. It all is connected, and that's what we do in terms of innovation. We try to find those connections. If you're thinking, okay, well, I can't be creative. I'm more analytical. You're wrong. I just love the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen in my presentation, but I needed a picture of twins, and they seemed the brightest ones that I could find. So, general IQ test for general intelligence for twins age 15 to 22. This is a repeatable and real study. So 85% of the performance is related to genetics. So those are twins. So Where those brains came from, no idea. But 80-85% of their performance, general IQ, is related to genetics. Creativity test for twins age 15 to 22, 30% is related to genetics. So 70% of innovation and creativity skills are learned. So you can learn how to be more innovative, you can learn to be creative. I didn't start my life in copywriting, I just loved reading. I loved the creativity of others. But over time, I've been able to create myself. And I did it with these 5 key skills. So we've got questioning, we've got observing, networking, experimenting, and associating. And I'm going to go through quickly on this one. Hey, we're doing all right. Okay, really quick exercise. This goes back to when Carissa and I first met, and I love this, and I love whenever I'm doing this talk, and she's not here because I think about her immediately. So we met doing improv. And one of my favorite things that we did in improv, have you ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Best use of an object. Sometimes, whenever you're looking at a problem, you can only either see one solution, or you just keep staring at the problem. It seems like the same thing. So I want you to look at this brick. This is a standard brick, as it's known. But your job is to imagine that you have to go on Kickstarter, and you need to raise about $10,000, and this is what it can be. You can paint it, you can put words on it, you can do whatever you want to it, apart from change its form. So if you don't mind, just because of time, take about 30 seconds, just write a couple of ideas down for what this could be as a product. So if you see Kickstarter, imagine you got a website, you're trying to sell this thing. You can't sell it as a brick. What would you sell it as? So take about 30 seconds. I'm going to grab a water while I let you guys do that. And that's 30 seconds. I used to work in radio. I fascinate my kids all the time because they can generally ask me any time of the day or night what time it is, and I tell them exactly what time it is. That's 5 years of radio. When you used to smoke in radio, you know exactly how long it is. Anyways, a couple of ideas. We'll start with anybody. Yes?
It's a clay hot dog tray.
Yes.
You put that in the oven, you know, the hot dog's nicely evenly surrounded.
Oh my God.
Perfect cook every time.
Ceramic cooking. I want to see that commercial. You 2, 3, 4, 5 packs of 8 hot dogs. Okay, yeah, we're going to have to make some modifications, but that's really, really good. I love it.
Seedling starters.
Seedling starters, very good. Keep them contained, keep them safe, maybe stack them up. Cats can't get to them. What is it? Candle holder. Very nice, very classy.
Xylophone.
Xylophone, all right. We're going to have to put something inside those holes to be able to make different sounds. That's perfect. Maybe some bottle caps.
Cruise control system for your car.
That's a cruise control system for your car. It's very, very good. All right, let's go one more.
Product to hold your kitchen utensils, like your wooden spoons, all your...
It's very cost effective. Yeah, you can replace it easily. Paint different colors, match your decor. I love it.
Window breaker.
A window breaker. Coming right to the chase. This is how we think about problems. We're always looking at them differently. It's a little bit of a shift that you have to do. So, in terms of how you shift that, the first skill is questioning. As part of sales, you should be questioning everything. You should be questioning their motivation, why they want to do things. You should be questioning how you're selling. There's tons of questions. But at the end of the day, it's asking the questions you don't know. That's the hardest thing. Usually when we're sitting around in a brainstorm, everybody's trying to spout out the answer, right? You can do it. You can say, okay, I'm trying to sell this. How do we do that? It'll be tactics. It'll be solutions. Not a lot of people, whenever they're brainstorming and trying to figure something out, ask questions. Generally, they'll ask the basics. When does this need to be in market? How much do they want to spend? Like anything outside of that. So asking what's working, what's not, and why. Like I said, it's not to find the right answer, it's to find the right question, because that leads to a great answer. That's Peter Drucker. Great book, Practice of Management. So how do you find the right question? So this is a really interesting stat. The average teacher asks, and this is a US study, we'll see if we can get an equivalent or Canadian. They ask 291 questions a day in class. The teacher asks 291 questions. The average student age 6 to 18 in the US asks one question per 1 hour of class a month. That is staggering. The students are the ones that are learning. They should be asking questions. The students should be asking more questions than the teacher is asking. So if we look at this as a problem, we say, you know what, we want students to participate more. We want students to ask more questions in class. How do we do that? And again, just in the interest of time, I want to make sure we don't. But when you're thinking about this, and if you were trying to solve this, you would usually go, okay, well, you mandate that they have to ask 3 questions a month, and we just let everybody in class know, we send a note home to the parents, and that's what we do. Well, there's one answer. Okay, that's cool. Ask questions. Why not ask questions like, how many of these kids take a bus to school? How many of them have a great breakfast before school? How many of these kids only have one parent at home? How many of these kids this? How many of the kids have jackets? How many of these kids have bicycles? Like, questions that make no sense and might not relate to what the answer should be might lead you to something else. So asking questions to try to find the solution is a great start, and eventually you can grab those quick solutions that are easy to find, but try asking really difficult questions. The second skill in terms of process innovation is observing. This is a great example. Raymond Tata Motors, a really, really affordable car company based in India. He was inspired whenever he saw families riding low-cost mopeds around his home city in the rain, packed 3 on, 5 on, 6 on, every condition, no covering, and he knew there had to be a better way. And of course, he's driving in his luxury automobile, he's going around. But he saw the problem. The problem wasn't that people couldn't get these scooters. The problem was, how do I make a car that's an equivalent price to that? But how do I then get this to the masses in the most economical and fast way? So the car that they devised, low cost, a few $1,000s, it wasn't much of a stretch for the audience. But what they did is they had not only somewhere to go buy the car. Imagine you could go to a Ford dealership and you need to get a car. You could not only go buy the car, you could get your license, you can get your insurance, you can do everything in one place. That was the difference. He knew the difficulties of not only getting a vehicle, but getting insurance, getting registration, and doing everything. It was all in one place. That was the difference. His observation was the difficulty in doing everything whenever you had to get a car, so we put it all in one place. Another thing that we do is we actively watch customers. This is an IKEA event that we did, some social vending machines with Twitter. That's really unique when you walk into an IKEA and somebody says, do you want to tweet a vending machine to get some meatballs? Ugh, how do you say no? Because you're processing what the hell was I just asked. So this was all about their catalog. So now they have you. Now they're like, oh, okay, I got you. Hey, we got the new 2016 catalog. Why don't you come over here? But if somebody just hand you a catalog, you're just going to go no, or do you want to enter a contest? Nah, it's okay, I'm good. You can process it really quickly. What we do is we try to stop people and just daze them for a second. It's like flashing high beams, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. But what we did is we watched how people use things, we observed, and we made changes based on people that had that look of difficulty. We'd ask them what's going wrong, what they don't understand, and we would change it. So actively watching your customers will help a ton. This is a massive one, being a tourist at work. You know, whenever you step off a plane and you've gone to somewhere for the first time, you step off the plane in Mexico, or you step off the plane in Costa Rica, and you're like, oh my God, you're observing everything. You're like, oh my God, this plant is slightly different. Oh my God, look at the color of their flowers. Oh my God, look at that truck. Everything is new and wonderful. When you walk back in your office this morning, you're not going to do that. You're not going to walk in and go, oh, that's you're so blind to everything around you, especially in your hometown. Look at everything as a tourist. If you spend that level of detail, you're going to see things that you have not seen before. So whether you're observing customers, whether you're observing other companies you love, look at them differently. Don't just take a glance, really, really look. Observe something once a day. There's nothing better than going and sitting in a park and just watching the world. It not only allows you to look at things you might not have seen in a different perspective, it also frees up your brain. It frees up your brain to be able to think of things in the background. Because you think you're only thinking whenever your brain is going, okay, I need to solve that problem, I'm thinking about it right now. Nah, get the problem in your head and then go do something else. Observe something else that will take you out of that problem you're trying to solve, and it'll happen, and then it will come to you. And some of my greatest ideas, that's where they come from whenever I'm not even thinking about them. And it's a difficult technique, but you have to let yourself look at other things that don't remind you of other things that you normally see or think. So try to get outside of your normal world and use all of your senses. So the third skill we have is networking. Hey, we're networking. Hello, shaking hands, photos of globes, people on escalators, looking at watches. Yay, networking. That's usually what it looks like. Look at that, we got Shutterstock, shaking hands. It's awesome. Big business. This is the type of networking I love to do. This was Maker Fair in New York. This fella there with the captain's hat on, he's, I'm trying to remember his career, I think he was in, oh my God. He was in some sort of manufacturing. But anyways, he built for his kids a game called Semaphore Hero. So it's kind of like Guitar Hero, but using flags. It's fun, it's quirky, it's silly. He brought this and he shared it with people. I talked to him, and the passion this guy had for, so he's doing tracking of the flags with computer vision. He has no business doing this. But damn, he was so interesting, and the passion that showed through that. A French artist that built this little robot that goes and puts a biodegradable material down and just writes poetry. It was homebrewed, simple. I mean, just a wonderful idea. This idea right in the middle here, this was a little tap finger race done by an 8-year-old. It was like a drag race, but you're just supposed to go like this with your fingers. And it would track your fingers, and then you get your score, and you won or you didn't win. But this kid was so into this. So I love to network with people that I don't necessarily have much in common with. These folks a little bit more because they're in the maker world. But last November, I was at the amusement park show. I went to Infocom last week, which was an AV integrator show. And yeah, we have AV folks, but I'm not reselling screens. I'm just trying to see what's out there so I can use it, and I can use it for an unintended application. iFixit, I have to get to this slide. iFixit, try to make fixes to your own things. I think there's enough people around my age bracket that aren't afraid to try to fix things and they don't just throw everything away. Be a tool maker, try things and fix them. This is what I tried to go through today. This is the process of getting a PhD. So this first slide is a circle that contains all of human knowledge. By the time you finish elementary school, you know a little. Finish high school, know a little bit more of a lot of things. Bachelor's degree, you get a specialty. And this is probably where you are in terms of your business and your sales. A master's degree deepens your specialty. You do research papers. You're really pushing that focus. You push that boundary. You're so specific and focused. One day, the boundary gives way and you make a dent. You got a PhD. Or you make it to the top of your profession and you know everything about that. And you think you know everything. But that little dot that you've been able to master is outside everything else. So don't be afraid to look and think and try things that you haven't thought about before. Couple tips here. I'll make this presentation available. I think this is available on video so we can go through. And the last one is associating, which is what I do every day. Creativity is connecting things, connecting disparate ideas, disparate technologies, and doing them in a really fun way. So the more you expose yourself to, the more that you can sell. I'll leave that up there so if you're looking at the video you can see. But it's forcing that new associations, taking on a different persona, thinking differently. Think about how marketing might look at something. Think about how your competitor might talk about something. So how do I apply this? Work with your partners, work with the people that you work with every day, suggest ideas, participate. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try something different. Don't be afraid to fail. We fail all the time. But we pick ourselves up, we learn, and we don't do it again. Set metrics. If you're going to do something, make sure you measure it. See if it works, see if it doesn't. And please, at the end of the day, I know this is sales, you all have many different careers, many different businesses. Please make stuff. Hobbies, use your hands, create, paint, draw, build, just make stuff. It makes you human, and it brings you back outside of that screen. Don't just make things on screens. Use your hands. Please, please, please. It's usually a much younger audience that I talk to. I'm just looking at, God's sakes. We're okay. At the end of the day, just do epic shit. If you have any questions, stick with your hand. I know we're 2 minutes over. I know you need to get on with your day. My contact information will be available if anyone has any questions. If not, thank you so much for your time. But if there's a quick question, I'm happy to take it. Yes?
What was the timeline again from the time you stopped starting your own business? What was the timeline?
So I started my career in radio in 1995. In 2000, I moved into the agency world. 2015, I started wonderMakr. So we split off about 3 years ago. We started as a team of 4, we're a team of 13. Growth is being carried out. I'm going to be totally transparent. Our growth is being like this, and now we're kind of doing that. Because there's an efficiency with a certain number of people, and then we bring on more people, your overhead starts to go up. So we're like you, we're figuring out as we go along. But the trajectory is there, and it's a learning. We learn what we did right, what we did wrong. Don't go to that show again. Don't do this, do this. Yeah, we're always learning. Thanks very much.